Isn't the Catholic Church already compromised?
StruGod, I'm on my back, dog.
Hey, what up YouTube, it's your boy, man. I'm back again with another video, and this one also is jam-packed. My boy is jam-packed. Remember, like on the last video we talked about the priest? So this one, he wasn't on Tucker Carlson's show, but he was on another exciting podcast. So we're gonna jump into it and just talk about the signs that he's talking about, like how the possible signs of the mark of the beast. So I believe personally that the mark of the beast is actually already out here. How and why? I love to use this statement, how and why. So how and why is because now most of us, we are right-handed, and how we use our phones, we always hold this thing on our right hand. And when we pay right now, we don't usually use like paper money. We usually use like Cash App, or like all these like what you call this, Apple Pay, all these like online services to pay for whatever that we pay for. So if we use these things, and then in Revelation it says that the thing could be on your right hand, or right here on your forehead. So right now in China, there are places where you can just use your palm like this to pay for something. You can also use your face to pay for something. You can use your thumb. You can use your phone. Actually, you use your phone for everything in China, but the world hasn't seen that yet. Some parts of the world is still using fiat currency, but here is electronic currency. So what does that mean? It simply means that we're so close, dog. We're so close to the mark of the beast. So close. So let's find out what he's saying in this video, and I hope that stay till the end. It's interesting.
Be a correction, or are we approaching end times?
Well, ultimately, we don't really have any certitude. I mean, it could be the type of thing that it's the situation for the Antichrist is just about present. The Antichrist has to be able to rule the world. He's not going to rule through governance. He's going to rule it through economies. And so
he's going to rule through economies, not the government. So meaning AI could be the thing, dog. That's why they're really pushing so hard to get this AI thing out there. But I'm not saying that AI is bad, dog. It's bad for those who don't know how to use it the right way, but it could also be the scariest tool in the world, because some people can use it for weird things. Some people want to use it for good things. Probably for me, I use it for good things. Like, it helps me with work. It helps me a lot. So,
rule the world. He's not going to rule through governance. He's going to rule it through economies. And so, even though he'll have control of the governments too, but the Antichrist would actually, when he appears, there has to be a unification of the worldwide economy in order for him, to a degree that's a little bit farther down the road than ours is at this point. So I don't think that he's just immediately around the corner, but I could be wrong. And that the other way that it can actually happen is, there's been numerous prophecies by saints, apparitions where Our Lady's appeared, like at Fatima, where 3 children saw her, but then there was a miracle of the sun where 70,000 people saw this miracle that actually happened there. So there's some of those apparitions. She actually talks about the fact that one of them is La Salette, where she said there's going to be a chastisement that's going to come. And that chastisement will be a minor chastisement, but it's going to be the type of thing where, we're going to see infrastructure. God's going to basically allow some type of war or something that's going to happen to such a degree that, it's going to be brutal even for us who are good and who are prepped and ready for it and all of that. It's going to be brutal for everybody.
He goes again that God would allow. So there's this thing about I'm really starting to believe that in everything that we go through in life, may it be good, may it be bad, we think according to these judgments, good and bad. But you don't know whether it is good or bad. You're guessing that it is good or bad. Why am I saying you are guessing? I probably am guessing too. But why am I saying you're guessing? Because you're not the creator. When something happens, you're like, oh, this is bad. When something happens, oh, this is good. Who told you that it is good? Who told you that it is bad? But if you just leave and just enjoy the process and try to learn more about the will of God, then that's when you start to live in fulfillment, because you know that everything that you're doing, you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for the fulfillment of the Spirit of God. I may be wrong right there, but as long as it serves God, you're going to live to the fullest. I don't know. I hope that I got through to you with that. But these are like the things that I've started to like really learn. I'm learning slowly. I don't know if I'm right or wrong too, but like I'm learning, taking my time to learn, and day by day, one day I'm gonna get to be like right, but I'm still learning.
Or prepped and ready for it and all of that. It's going to be brutal for everybody.
Me too, my dog.
When you say,
Brutal.
I can't remember how you said it, but you said it sounded like you were saying the stage is kind of set.
Yeah.
Almost everything that's happened needs to happen. What has happened?
Everything that needs to happen has to happen. That's it.
Just kind of set.
Yeah.
Almost everything that's happened needs to happen. What has happened that needed to happen, and what still needs to happen?
I'm gonna answer you before he answered. I'm not actually answering, I'm just adding into it. Do you know that saying that there's nothing new under the sun? Like, it started, I have started to really believe, Doc, like there's absolutely nothing. I was having a conversation with one of my friends also, and she was like asking me about a lot of questions about these like crazy things that are happening around the world, right? Then I said to her, listen, with whatsoever is happening right now around the world, but you have to understand, even if it's happening to you, probably it is there to serve a certain purpose. So, but you have to endure that, but try to get yourself out of it by all means necessary. If you cannot, which means it is meant to be, right? And also understand that there is nothing new under the sun. I took that from the book that I once read. I've mentioned it a couple of times here on the channel, that the prophecy of the Theo-Hooper prophecy, or the prophecy of Theo-Hooper, that as humans, or as people, we used to once live in the planet called Mars, and then we destroyed that planet. That's why we came to the planet of Earth. So if we managed to destroy that planet with nuclear weapons and all that, and we're here now, that thing is coming again. Now we're starting to see all these countries like prepping up with their nukes and all that. Some they're being attacked for wanting to have nukes, right? Which is crazy, because I was thinking that we're now living in a very advanced world, that we don't need to have wars, we actually need to have more peace. But it seems like the more advanced we get, the more greedy people want to be, and the more they want to have all these unnecessary wars, right? And that is a clear indication of how demonic infested these people in power are, because they cannot, they don't want to just settle for like peace, unity, and people living together and like in peace. You can look at the things that are happening in South Africa right now with this xenophobic stuff that is happening. And then there's one person who said, think about this. South Africa in 1994, when they gained their independence, right? The claim to independence, they were supposed to say, we are going to do this whatever xenophobic thing and remove these people who oppressed us from our country, so that they're out of this country, because they were all Pan-African type of vibe back then. They had to do that then. But right now, what is happening? They are letting the people who oppressed them live in the country peacefully, because they claim that they are now their own people. But they are fighting. I understand that there's a lot of layers into this, right? But they're killing their own brothers and sisters who help them to fight against oppression. They are burning their own brothers and sisters who help them to fight this oppression. Right? So instead of them saying we need to come together, but there's another issue again. They have to build up a strong policing policy that is going to eradicate all these things that is actually happening right now. This and also buff up the imports, the import bays where the ships come in with the products and all that, and also the airports. And yeah, man, they have to buff up a lot of these things, so that, and also put some cameras on the road, so that we know who is selling who is selling like these things that kill our people, who is doing wrong, right? If we do all this, then we're not gonna have problems between us as like the whole continent. But we are having the problem because people that they know that the security is weak, right? How are you going to fight somebody from Zimbabwe just because they jumped the border trying to find a better life? But how you going to sit there as your neighbor looking at your neighbor beating his wife every day and you're okay with that? That is the situation of South Africa. The situation that is happening in South Africa, it is because they are sleeping while they just allowed Zimbabwe to become what it is. When Zimbabwe was better, South Africa was greater. You understand that? But no one wants to talk about that. When Zimbabwe was better, Botswana was greater, was even getting better and better and better. Right now it's just okay, but if Zimbabwe pulls up their socks, Botswana is going to be one of the greatest countries. Mozambique is not going to have all that whatever shenanigan thing that is happening right there. Because we have to have a strong region. But right now, it's like a pick and choose. Like you get a pick and choose, like which one do you want to be better and all that. So when we're talking about all these like demon-infested countries or demon-infested leaders, we start to see all these patterns. Like, if these people had the spirit of Ubuntu, we're not going to have all these problems. This is like a serious conversation right here. Like, if we're being serious, right? And I know, like, I kind of like derailed and went off topic, but I had to just speak my mind about this. You know what I mean? Let's get back to the video.
Yeah. What has happened that needed to happen, and what still needs to happen?
Well, before the Antichrist comes, one of the things that we know from the fathers of the church is that there will be a worldwide implosion of people's morality. So, which we've seen, right? So that's happened since the 1950s. There's been an implosion where people just aren't following the laws of God or the natural law in any sense of the term. So we have that. The other part of it is, again, is the unification of the worldwide economies, because he has to be able to basically control people en masse. The other thing is it has to be something that the people that are alive, that in order to survive, you have to be able to plug into that economy in some fashion. That's why they talk about the mark of the beast. Well, we're almost there, where they could literally just decide, look, unless you're going to sign off on certain things, you're not going to have access to the digital currency that we're going to enact worldwide, and therefore, because that's how we could rule it. At least that's my opinion. I think that's one of the ways how he's going to control people is through digital currencies, and he's going to just shut people off, and that's how they'll be able to basically starve people out if they're unwilling to sign off on the Antichrist's rules. So it's going to be those kinds of things have, as I mentioned, have come into play.
So we're talking like social credit score.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get worse, because what they're actually doing with the chemtrails and all that, that is also gonna affect a lot of people who are not going to have the greenhouses, right? So it'll be even better to actually grow your products indoors than outdoors, and it'll be even better to grow your products, and also like solar powered energy. It seems like it is the only thing that is going to save us, but actually it is not. Because think about this, if they can do chemtrails, they can also allow you to have the sun, but they can spray some stuff that is going to block your, or maybe affect how your solar your solar panel actually absorbs the sunlight energy to convert it into electricity. That's something that you have to think about, like think extreme, so that like whenever like you get this idea of like, oh, I'm gonna have solar powered whatever, but there are other ways. Like there's this, oh god, I love this, there's this other Zimbabwean dude who said he has a machine, he created this thing that can actually convert frequencies in the air into electricity. That is the only way that we are going to sustain this whole thing. That can give us the electricity that we need to power up our appliances at home. Imagine if you have that thing that grabs all these frequencies in the air, the radio frequencies, and then it generates the power that you need instead of a solar. Because a solar, what if you crush, or what if the solar thing, the solar panel breaks, right? Thinking that you're off grid, and a lot of people are not thinking this much. They're not thinking actually extreme like this, because they want to think like in a contained environment that is only like limited. While you thinking limited, they're thinking extreme. While and actually they're not even thinking extreme, they're thinking 50 years ahead of time. We're thinking about now and tomorrow. They're thinking 50 years. If they're thinking 50 years, this AI thing didn't start now. They didn't start last year. It started years back. They had to start coding this thing. They showed it in the movies in the early 2000s on Terminator. That's crazy, right?
Have come into play.
So we're talking like social credit score.
Yeah, that's right, among other things. The other thing is, too, is we also know that the Catholic Church specifically will have to be at a state where it would have to have gone through a prior weakening crisis, and then it will resurge, and then right before the Antichrist comes, the morals of people will implode, they say, in such a rapid fashion to where this last 50 years will make our heads spin. It'll be that much more rapid. So there's some prophecies that have been fulfilled and some of them that haven't quite been.
When you say good people, I mean, is that everybody? Everybody will be under the influence?
Well, they say that the Antichrist will be so charismatic, and it will be that unless a person has specific graces from God, you're going to easily get sucked into into what he teaches and what he professes, which of course is going to be a rejection of Christ, and he will set himself up as the Messiah, but it'll be a political type of a thing. The other thing that has to happen too once he shows up, of course, the two prophets that are in heaven, Elijah and Enoch have to return. They're put to death. So because they actually return and preach against him. So those types of things have to happen before Christ actually returns.
Yeah, I can imagine like Enoch coming back, my dog. I can imagine that. But like the crazy thing to imagine, right, is when Jesus comes back. I'm wondering, like, with what is happening, do you know, like, I feel like the thing that would make people reject the idea of Jesus coming back, or the idea of any prophet or any of these like biblical individuals like coming back, is because of what is happening right now in the world. But the only people who are going to accept are the people who have faith in God. So they're going to have that discernment of like, oh, this is true. But if you don't have like that closeness to God, probably it's gonna be hard for people to accept, and they're going to be like leaning over to the ideas of Pilate in the Bible. You know, all the people that crucified Jesus, because they'll be like, that's not true. You know what I mean? This can't be him. The one that we're waiting for is this person. And since the Bible actually says his skin is like copper, he has hair like wool, when he comes through and he's not part of certain type of race, that is going to cause a lot of like craziness going around. I don't know, man. I'm just like, hey, going extreme with it.
And preach against him. So those types of things have to happen before Christ actually returns and finally puts him to death.
Do we know what names they'll use?
We don't. Other than, you mean as Elijah and Enoch? It'll be clear who they are.
What about the temple?
Boom! It'll be clear who they are. I like that answer. He answered me. Remember, I was just going off, right? He answered me. It'll be clear who they are.
According to the fathers of the church, at least the ones that I've read, they said the temple will never be rebuilt. And the reason it will never be rebuilt. And the reason being is because, first of all, Julian the Apostate tried to rebuild it, and it was destroyed in the process. Christ actually put an end to the Jewish sacrifice on purpose, because the Jewish sacrifice in the Old Testament was a lead up or a prefigurement of Christ. And so he gave them one generation in order for them to convert to Christianity. And when they didn't, he put an end to their sacrifice. So technically speaking, there hasn't been practicing Jews in 2,000 years, because the temple hasn't been around. They haven't been able to offer sacrifice. Doesn't mean that they don't pray and things of that sort, but they haven't been able to enact their primary religious duties, which is to offer sacrifice. Plus their Levitic line, which is their priestly line, was destroyed. So, but then, and the difficulty is people tend to misinterpret the book of Daniel, which says when the abomination of desolation takes its seat in the temple. What they don't realize is that is not a reference to the Jewish temple. That's where the Protestants are getting it wrong. So a lot of the Protestants are thinking, oh, well, let's help the Jews rebuild the temple, and then that will usher in, because Christ is going to return, after the temple. They think the temple is going to be rebuilt. And then as a result of that, the temple has to be rebuilt in order for the Antichrist to put himself in there. So let's do that so that the Antichrist will come, and then that means that Christ will come. And that's kind of their reasoning behind it. Well, first of all, just getting through the years of the Antichrist is going to be brutal, so I wouldn't be pushing that. But the fathers of the church are very clear that it'll never be rebuilt, and that the reference to the abomination of desolation taking its seat in the temple is actually a reference to the Catholic Church. That's what the fathers say it's a reference to. That there's going to be some way in which the situation in the church will become compromised to such a degree. It doesn't mean that people have to know it, but its essential elements will still remain intact. But that the Catholic Church itself would become compromised in that process.
But my question is, isn't the Catholic Church already compromised? I'm not Catholic. I'm just curious, because from what I've heard, it's somewhat compromised. Heard, not experienced. I don't know. Educate me in the comment section.
Yes. When we're talking about the social critics with the ruling through the economy.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned the mark of the beast. It's just in the past 6 years, I've heard lots of different things that could be the mark of the beast. The first one being the COVID shot.
Yeah.
Me
The
too.
next one I've always heard is digital currency. Another one could be Neuralink.
Yeah.
And so what I want to ask is, I mean, this is, what are people supposed to do? Let's say that they do usher in the new digital currency, and I'm sure it won't appear to be the mark of the beast. But maybe it becomes more obvious, as time goes on with people holding out. I think about this all the time.
Right.
I have kids, they're small. I have a wife, I have people that depend on me. What are we supposed to do if we can't eat, take care of ourselves, provide for our families? What are we supposed to do?
Well, I think there's
I mean, if that's the only way you can survive, what are we supposed to do? Is the head of the family?
Yeah, the way the fathers of the church talk about, though, is they say that the mark of the beast, you can't receive the mark of the beast. So it's supposed to be something that's well, first of all, the mark of the beast is the inversion of what they call the mark of baptism. So when a person's baptized, God infuses a quality in the person's soul, which is a mark. And that's actually why, for example, in the baptism in the Catholic Church, there's a sign in which you actually take chrism and you sign it on the forehead as an indicator of that this person has been consecrated to Christ through his baptism. The mark of the beast is going to be the inversion of that. So it's going to be something in our bodies that is going to be that will give us access to these particular things. Okay.
Like Neuralink.
I was thinking about that too. That crossed my mind for a second.
These particular things. Okay.
Like Neuralink.
Like it would be something similar to that, or it could just be something like an RFID chip, which then you just be able to walk in and they can scan it. They know who you are and they know that you can have access to the food and things of that sort. It could be the type of thing that they get to the point where you just don't even have to carry credit cards, or even that your bank account will just be linked to this chip that's in you, and because that's how they could actually do it. The thing, though, is that the fathers of the church say that you're not going to be able to get that chip without some type of renunciation of Christ. There's going to have to be some religious thing you're going to have to accept that is contrary to the will of God and contrary to Christ. And so the moral of the story is that you have to be willing to sacrifice the lesser good in order to achieve the greater good. You have to be willing to, I have to follow Christ regardless of the personal cost. Now, God will also very often provide for people. If it's his holy will that people survive that time frame, he'll make it possible for them to do it. The other thing is I've learned, which in the military you've probably seen this too, the tighter you put your grip on a group of people, the more stuff slips through your fingers.
Did you get that? Wait, the tighter grip that you put against people, the more they slip up. So it's like when you're holding a sponge and that has bubbles, you squeeze it. What happens? A lot of foam comes out. Whoa.
You put your grip on a group of people, the more stuff slips through your fingers. And so I think that type of thing, there will be ways in which people will be able to survive. But I think they also have to be smart about it and actually learn just basic survival skills, learn how to fend for themselves just based on nature and things of that sort. But I think it's going to become extraordinarily difficult, especially with the way the technology is getting, to be able to even evade detection.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think about this all the time.
Yeah.
Me too, man. You're not alone, bro. Like, the amount of surveillance cameras in China is crazy. And I don't think, to a certain degree, I think it is good. But to an extreme degree, I feel like, hey, bro, there is no privacy at all. But that comes at a cost of safety that is too safe. It's too safe. When I went home, bro, like I was looking at people, like I wasn't trusting people anymore, man. Like, I'm just looking at another dude coming close to me. I feel uncomfortable, you know. But here, when people come close to me, I feel comfortable because they're cameras, right? But back home, I wasn't comfortable. I was like, what could he do? You know what I mean? I don't trust that. I didn't trust. I'm serious, because I've been here for like a long minute, and it's not something that I encourage. You gotta touch grass, man. Get close to reality.
One more question. I've always heard about the golden calf. How does that play into the end?
Well, obviously the difficulty with the golden calf in the Old Testament is that they basically created a god of their own making, and so this is the same type of thing that you're going to see in relationship to the Antichrist. He will basically ensconce himself as the one to whom we are to worship. The difficulty with the Antichrist, of course, is he's going to be perfectly possessed by Satan. And he will be endowed with by perfect possession. Satan will be the one in the driver's seat, so that we'll be dealing with somebody who will be endowed with Satan's intelligence. And as a result of that, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult intellectually to combat this guy without specific graces from God.
No matter where you're watching the
Bro, the last part he said, without grace from God. Without what? Grace. I'm adding that into my prayer request, dog. I'm praying for grace. Like, just pray for grace from God. We need this. Because we cannot run away from this whole idea, dog. Whether we like it or we don't. I'm gonna have kids, and my kids probably gonna live through that. And anybody who's gonna have kids now, they're beautiful, but they're gonna live through that, or their kids are gonna live through that. So we gotta pray for generational grace, that if the grace misses you, may it find your children. If it cannot find your children, may it find their children's children, so that when this thing happens, they won't catch fire. All right, man. You see, it is what it is, man. I'll see you on the next one. Hope that you enjoyed this one. There's still more to come, and I'm cooking. I'm in the kitchen.
StruGod, I'm on my back, dog.